Hey, what's up, Giants fans? Welcome to another episode of Giants Talk. I'm Cole Kuiper here with Giants insider Alex Pavlovic. We have more updates from spring training as Alex is there on the ground, finding out everything you need to know. Plus, on this episode, he talked with Tyler Mahle and Adrian Houser, new pitchers for the Giants that we want to get to know. So stay tuned to get to know the new guys and learn a little bit more about this pitching rotation. Before we get started, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini's Sleep World. Mancini's is kicking off the year with their President's Day sale, where you can save up to $1,200. Mattresses start at incredible prices, like Beauty Rest Queen mattresses starting at just $299. Plus, you can get 0% financing for up to 60 months, including on Tempur-Pedic, with payments starting as low as $29 a month. Just visit sleepworld.com. Okay, Alex, as we logged on to record today, you told me we have immediate moves and updates.
We are talking on Sunday morning, and the Giants signed Will Brennan, an outfielder who has some 4 years, parts of 4 seasons experience with the Cleveland Guardians. We just talked to Zach Manassian about it, and said it's the guy they've liked for a while. Tony and Jace Tingler both like him. Tony seems to know a bunch of guys obviously knows a bunch of guys from recruiting, facing guys. This is someone they've liked, and depth outfielder. He is, I think the most important thing here is he has an option remaining, which Luis Matos does not, Joao Encarnacion does not. So somebody that they can potentially, almost certainly have in AAA, depending on how this plays out. Big week for people who want to get mad on Twitter because the Giants decided to add players to their roster who are not not Framber Valdez. And that's the point of the 40-man. The 40th guy is not always the first guy. So, But Will Brennan, he is here. He missed most of last year. He had left elbow surgery. But before that, he hit 304 in AAA, 3 homers. In big league time and can play in the corners and just gives him a little bit of depth.
I mean, it makes sense. It's not a move I hate. It just, to me, adding outfield wasn't anywhere I expected them to, with kind of the sheer number of, for lack of a better term, quadruple A fourth outfilders they have available. But the option, I guess, is the deciding factor there.
I think it's very important. And it's something, it's not a headline, but again, Matos and Encarnacion are out of options. And there's a chance that in 6 weeks, when they put this team together, or 5.5 weeks, whatever it is, that neither one of those guys is in the mix and that they're elsewhere. So you do need guys in AAA. You need depth. And that's part of this. I think it's it's a little depth move here for him.
Well, I have an idea about what the other move people have been upset on social media about is Giants signed Rowan Wick to a not 2026 deal.
Yeah, an interesting one. I mean, we see this a lot where guys sign the 2-year deal as they're recovering from Tommy John. This is a 1-year deal with the knowledge that he will miss the whole year, but there's a club option for 27. So for the Giants, it's essentially a 2-year deal. For Rowan Wick, it's a 1-year deal because if things go horribly in his rehab, and you don't expect that, but if he's not ready a year from now, or the Giants want a little more flexibility on their roster, they can move on. But it's somebody that he had a .84 ERA in Japan last year, and that is a league where ERAs are lower, but their scouts over there loved him. He has big league time, most notably with the Cubs. So again, a depth move, and it's fun. This used to be like the norm. You'd walk in and see 5 guys that you didn't know about had nameplates in the clubhouse, and teams have gotten better about that. They're on to us. But this is still pretty normal. And I guess my main reaction to it is I see the quote tweets and the responses, and somebody sent me a note, a DM, and they're like, why do you guys even report stuff like that? And it'd be hilarious if nobody ever said anything and Rowan Wick just showed up next spring and everyone was like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
It wasn't big enough. Never tweeted it because he was worried about how angry people would be on Twitter. So time of year to add depth. I think it's something good organizations do. Something you and I have talked about is they didn't make enough waiver claims last year. Just didn't take enough flyers on these guys. And look, there's going to be even with the best of health, 50, 55 guys who show up this year.
Yeah.
So you go beyond the 40 man. And this one I think is just fascinating because it's just a true, like, usually you see the 2-year deal. And this is just a true, like, hey, we like you. Also, you don't have, you're coming from Japan. So there's some ambiguity here.
The 1+1 nature of this deal obviously makes it unique and interesting. But I guess the other looming cloud over it all, that the first thing I went to is we're thinking about next year. We've already had a lot of questions about what next year could look like after this season is over. How does that come into play with something like this? Are we, is it just you have to plan as if a season is being played? Or are we making too big a deal of potential lockout here on Giants Talk?
I think both. I don't think we're making too big a deal out of it. At the same time, you have to plan for 27.
Yeah.
It's like it's like if you had a similar contract at work and you just were like, I guess I'll figure out where to live in 27 when 27 gets here.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
They have to plan for 27 and they have to hope for the best. And I actually think there's teams that are savvy about it. And I don't know that this is going to end up being savvy. Maybe it will, but teams that do plan for 27 and aren't scared and do get ahead of it, you might end up in a better place in certain respects because you're not scrambling next year to add guys to your bullpen when everyone else is. So we'll see where this goes, but yeah, I think that was the main reaction I saw from people. It's like, cool, you're going to have them in 27. What if there is no 27? Well, yeah. What if there is a 27? The likelihood is there will be a 27 of some sort. Like, yeah, I'd be, as much as we talk about it, I'd be stunned if it's like if there's no games or anything like that. So,
do you think that option is part of that? Like, if there isn't a 27 or it doesn't seem like there's going to be, just don't worry about picking that club. I
asked about this. I think the main thing is just flexibility. Yeah. And remember, guys who are on the 60-day have to come off of it at the end of the season. So they can look up in November and go, we don't love the way this is looking. And would rather have that 40-man spot, or maybe a bunch of guys break through this year, and that'd be great for the Giants. And you have to put some guys on the 40-man you didn't expect, and it just gets cramped. But so it gives the team a little bit of flexibility. That's the unique part about this, is usually the player gets equal standing here. But again, he's going to miss the entire season, and he wasn't in MLB the last couple of years. So a couple depth moves here as the Giants get going. Most of the free agents are gone. So it's
we do have a few bits of news about free agent signings, specifically guys that signed in the NL West. But before we get to non-Giants teams, you had your ear to the ground. You're out there in Scottsdale. Anything else big, breaking, mumblings? What are you hearing from as our boots on the ground?
I'm watching them currently work out. First full squad day here.
Great.
Tony gave a little speech. Matt Chapman spoke. Willie, obviously, Robbie Ray, Ron Washington. He said you can't hold him down. And then I thought the notable thing was Rafi Devers was one of the people who spoke up, which is
all right.
Probably a shock in Boston.
Leadership role on the team.
The one thing that has stood out to me here, and this isn't breaking news, it's just watching him take batting practice on the backfield. It's so different than almost everybody else. And it's just a reminder of, like, for all of the, it was a quiet offseason. We've done that for 3 months. It's a reminder of that he's going to be there on opening day. And, like, pretty decent chance he's just their best player.
Yeah.
And I think it's a guy we probably haven't talked about enough the last few months. Yeah. And just watching him take batting practice, it's just different. Like, he is a different caliber of hitter, which obviously we know when we saw last year. But I think that's one of the main reasons for optimism here.
Is we got a full year of him. I'm excited for it. Plus, we saw Adames break 30 home runs last year. We've got new contact hitting. Like, a lot of people online are being very down on what's been put together this offseason, but I feel like either I'm being gaslit or I'm a moron, maybe both, but I am really dialed in and excited about what's come together.
Well, I understand the pessimism. I mean, it was a quiet offseason. If you are looking in February for reasons for optimism, which you should be. I mean, you can give up in February if you want. But this is spring training is an exciting time of year, and that to me is kind of at the top of my list. Is just watching him move and watching him swing the last week, and it hit me the other day when I'm watching him take BP on the backfield and like really put apartments back there in danger. I was like, oh, I've never seen him take BP on the backfield here because he's never been here before. So it's just kind of an interesting one because it's pretty rare that potentially the best player on the team was not like this wasn't a big offseason deal, it wasn't this isn't the year when I guess Willie would be an example of him showing up last year and everyone's like watching him all spring. Like we've all seen Devers a ton already. We saw him in the whole second half and there was good and there was bad. There's some injury stuff there as well. And certainly the record wasn't what they expected with him, but it's a weird one. I think it's really rare. I guess like the Padres went through this a few years ago with Soto, where like someone shows up and you get a real look at him, and then the next spring he's still probably the most important thing here.
Yeah, but he's not the headline story anymore.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think anyone's written a word about him this week. So, which part of that is position players were not all of them have talked to us yet, but. It's a good reminder. Like put in the back of your head. I know as you enjoy your 3-day weekend and you're back in optimistic call mode. Like that would be at the top of my list.
Okay. What about Jung Hoo Lee? Obviously, we've had a lot of stories about Jung Hoo Lee this offseason, from him switching positions to the team going and visiting him in South Korea. Any Lee news?
Yeah, we talked to him for a long time the other day. Very self-aware. Basically, just said if I had been better in center field, they would not have moved me out of center field.
Wow. So, okay.
Which is, yeah. So he's gonna. I think the most interesting thing for me is going to be, initially they said he'll still play some center field. Tony this week, when I asked him about that, said you do want to have like kind of a set group. I'm curious to see where they end up on that, because I think the best thing they could do for him is say you are the right fielder, and that's it. Like if we need you in the 12th inning one night to move over to center field because Bryce Eldridge is playing left and Elliot Ramos has to move to right, whatever, like that's fine. But we're not going to start you in center field when Harrison Bader gets a day off the 4th day, whatever it is. So I think that's the best thing they could do is just make him the right fielder and stick to that. And part of that is dependent on Drew Gilbert making this team so he can play center field. But that's one thing I'm going to be watching in spring training. And I think that would make him a lot more comfortable. And then the other thing, I don't know that I ever wrote this or we ever talked about it, but he did tell us in September he lost 12 pounds last year. And it's, for him, it's important he has a better understanding of how to get through a full year. And I know you wake up at like 6 a.m. He does not. He said he sleeps in for night games, but he joked. Right. He was like, I might have to start waking up, have breakfast, go back to sleep. So we talk so much about like swing pieces, like guys, like how can you get from 81 to 89 wins or whatever? Like, and we've talked so much about Birdsong and Ramos and guys like that. Jung Hoo Lee's right there as well. Like, can you become a better player than you were last year all around and just help him inch forward?
Yeah. All right. We have talked a lot about him, but I don't think we've really touched on the importance of him as that potential breakout guy for 2026. Maybe just because it's unspoken, it's obvious.
Yeah.
We need to see the best possible version of him. But yeah, new position, new start, I guess. Let's see what we get.
It's really interesting because their last two moves, aside from the minor ones we talked about at the top of the show, were pretty impactful to Jung Hoo. Like you move him out of center field and then you bring in Luis Arias, who has a similar profile and just has done it better at the big league level. So if you're looking for that bat control guy at the top of the lineup, Arias is the cleaner fit right now. So I think there's a lot to prove for Jung Hoo Lee this spring.
Okay. What about the bullpen? Any bullpen coverage? Obviously, we haven't had any signings to the bullpen aside from a guy who won't be here in 2026.
There was a signing. I have a story on our website with Ryan Walker. I thought it was interesting that he's not shying away from the ninth. And he told me, I love the role. I love the high leverage situations, and that's where I want to be. I have no other intentions. His plan this spring is to go out and win that job. I am curious. I don't see another option, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like it's his to lose.
Yeah. He's not the closer currently. I don't know who would pass him over the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Be that guy. I think it's more like Ryan Walker versus closer by committee.
Yeah. I have to imagine, obviously, he's not officially the closer, but somewhere on clipboards or whiteboards or whatever, his name is written there in a erasable pen.
Yeah.
Just in case, but it is what is written there.
There's a whiteboard in Tony's office, and we assume that Walker is at the top of it.
Exactly.
But he's another guy I think to watch closely this spring, because if he's the guy he was 2 years ago, that's huge. And he feels like he made some good mechanical adjustments. Will be more competitive, especially with his breaking ball, not kind of hanging him over the zone as he did quite often last year, or these big misses where it's just like, oh, you'd be in the middle of an at bat and you're like, Walker has no idea where it's going. So I think the most important thing is he's pretty adamant that he's comfortable in the ninth and he wants to do that. And he's kind of a milder personality as far as closers go, but you want your closer to be a little psycho. And
yes.
I think it's good that he has that personality. They're like, no, I'm coming in here to like kick everybody's ass this spring, even though it might be a little quieter. So another guy that I think we'll be watching pretty closely the next 5-6 weeks.
I would love a former closer like a Brian Wilson or someone to just put together like an offseason psycho camp where relief guys who just need that extra something can go and just learn that mentality.
I feel like it's when you get out there and all of a sudden you're just like, it's anyone who's ever met Sergio Romo, he's so different than the guy who stood in front of the world and threw a fastball down the middle.
Right down the plate.
It's wild. So Wilson was a little weirder at all times, but it's wild to see these guys who can turn that switch on when they come out of the bullpen.
Yeah. All right. Before we move on to signings around our NL West competitors, any other notes from the Giants camp?
A couple small things. I've gotten a lot of questions about Parks Harbor. He's going to play some outfield here. Zach Manassian said he's almost certainly going to start the season in Double-A, which is a promotion for him. Just crush High A and then crush the Arizona Fall League. So we've talked a fair amount about him. I think that will continue. Okay. So, and it is, again, to the way we started this, where you go like they could see their outfield depth chart take a hit this spring at the end of it or early in the year if they have to DFA guys. Anyone who is here, and I will, Parks Harbor and Bo Davidson are at the top of that list for me. Anyone who's here playing outfield and is going to be in Double-A or Triple-A, I find interesting just because it's kind of a jumble behind the top three guys. Jared Oliva I've watched like just a different kind of athlete than someone they've had, and he's 30 years old. It's not going to make the opening day roster almost certainly, but you look him up. He stole 57 bases in 95 AAA games last year, and it's like, oh, that's like what the Giants did as a team in the big leagues. So different skill set. I think he's a little interesting. Just watching what he's done, a plus defender in center field. We probably spend way too much time discussing Justin Dean and Joey Weimer and all that in the offseason as we're trying to get through 2 podcasts a week. But
we did it, though.
I think part of the reason they felt comfortable DFAing those 2 guys is they had another guy who was very similar, kind of that 4A outfielder who can play center field if needed. So I think a name to put on the radar for maybe later in the year, but he's looked pretty impressive at the start of camp as well.
All right. So outfield help could be coming later in the year from some names. I guess if you're Parks Harbor, the big takeaway is, I'm starting in Double-A, but I'm telling my parents, like, keep your summer cleared because it's very possible you're flying out.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we always, remember Carson Wisenhunt's dad had to fly back from Asia. Like,
exactly.
He probably should look. It's getting ahead of it, but he probably should tell his parents, like, maybe don't plan anything in September.
Yes.
And I would say Bo Davidson the same way. Like he's going to be in Double-A and somebody they love. The Park stuff I thought was fascinating because it's like he was such a minor part of that deal at the time because he just wasn't a top prospect. And you kind of see what he did in the Fall League and you see his name start to pop out there. And talking to some people here the last week, they're like, no, we kind of knew like we might be onto something here. And everyone was talking about the Mets deal and Tidwell and Gilbert, and like they felt like they did really well on the Camilo deal. And we'll see if they did, but you end up with Rodriguez and Harbor here right away, guys who we might see, if not this year, in 2027 if there's baseball.
Yeah. All right. That's what we have going on in the world of the Giants. Alex has interviews with Tyler Mahle and Adrian Houser coming up. But before we get to that, I would love to take a peek around the league. Couple of minor, medium to large size signings around the National League West, starting with the Diamondbacks. Zach Gallen returns to the D-backs. This is an interesting one because I really felt like he was a guy that I could see ending up with the Giants. And to have him just go back to Arizona felt so anticlimactic to me. Even if he wasn't going to end up in San Francisco, like anywhere else would have been, I don't know, more interesting.
Yeah. It felt like the qualifying offer, just he was that guy this year where it's like, no, not going to give up. Not to like toot my own horn, but I did think one thing that got, when I read like these aggregators trying to, piece together what's going to happen and Giants get thrown into some rumors, I think it got fully ignored that I wrote and talked about here at the winter meetings that they really didn't want to sign a qualifying offer guy.
Yeah.
Not to give up more draft picks.
Fair.
And I, with somebody like Gallen, I would imagine that was pretty important. I mean, there's a different level where you reach like a Framber and you go,
it's worth it.
It is what it is. But they've given up a lot of picks the last few years. And even though their farm system has been on the rise, like I think they're pretty adamant this winter. Like we need to stop giving up high draft picks.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And Alex, I am always pro you tooting your own horn. Toot away.
You. I'll try to do it more often.
You really, really should. Elsewhere in San Diego, and this was a big one because it was part of a larger piece of the news cycle. Nick Castellanos to San Diego after a drama-filled week where he was asked not to show up to Phillies camp.
Someone asked us on the last podcast a mailbag question.
I had the same exact thought when I was reading this story.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm not drinking beer at the ballpark, but I guess Nick Castellanos is.
Nick Castellanos, not afraid to crack a cold one in the dugout.
If you're going to do it, at least it was a Presidente, so he chose the right beer.
It's cool.
There's been certain Giants over the years who have shipped those back from Miami when they play the Marlins. He just took it in the dugout. It wasn't, we haven't gotten to our season outlook yet or bold predictions or anything like that. Obviously, we have a long way to go. But one thing that I think was important in the offseason was these two teams in their division that are not the Los Angeles Dodgers did not much at all. And the Padres in particular. So it was a not great week from that perspective. Just that Gallen, I think I'm higher on maybe than a lot of people. Castellanos, we'll see. The Padres also add who was it? Erman Marquez and Griffin Canning. Mm-hmm. They're kind of getting all those 1-year deals at the end here. I would guess they're going to get some value out of this. I mean, it might, maybe they don't. Maybe these guys are all wash, but they've gotten a little bit better over the last week. And in a division where we probably expect the Dodgers to run away with it and the other three teams to be hanging out there in the 80-something range and trying to, elbow each other for playoff spots, it's noteworthy.
Yeah. Plus, everyone knows San Diego has a fantastic craft beer scene. So if that is part of what you're planning your signings around, done.
Just an all-timer. It was, Matt Gelb, who covers the Phillies and does a great job, wrote this outstanding article, and I enjoyed Nick's handwritten Instagram note where he's like,
yes,
I guess this is going to get out there that I drank beer in the dugout, so I should probably and kind of tried to play it off. And I'm like, dude, you took a beer in the dugout because they took you out of a game. Why are you trying to play this off with this?
In the era of PR written apologies and even AI written paragraphs, a beautifully, adorably written note like that was just fantastic.
The other part of it I loved is I saw Manny Machado today going, we got a $20 million player for pennies on the dollar. So we're geniuses. Maybe. He's also a $20 million player that just got told not to report to camp. And it was basically for the last 2 months, everybody in the world knew he could be had for probably 1 point.
Pennies on the dollar?
Yeah, $1 million, $1.5 million, whatever. You want to throw us a player to be named later, and the rest of the league just went no.
Yeah.
So,
oh, wow. Big contact, but big personalities in San Diego. Where could that go wrong?
Just a fascinating team down there.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, a fascinating team.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I want to get to Alex's chats with two of the Giants' additions to their rotation. Before we get to that, though, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. At Mancini Sleep World, every purchase is backed by Mancini's Rest Easy Promise, which includes a 365-night comfort guarantee. Try your mattress for a full year. If it's not the right fit, they'll make it right. Free next-day delivery and old mattress removal. Buy today, sleep better tomorrow with no extra cost. And a best price guarantee. If you find a better deal, they'll beat it. Just visit sleepworld.com. All right, Alex, before we dive into these chats, anything our listeners need to know going into them?
No, we've reached the yearly point of, one-on-one sit-downs, and we'll, the next month we'll spread out some of the interviews with guys people know better, but these are newcomers.
I love the get to know the new guys interviews more than anything. That is my jam. Newcomers,
and it's really, really, again, I understand the frustration from a lot of Giants fans over the offseason. At the same time, we are here. It's February. This is the roster. And these two guys are crucial. To be able to give them to get where they want to be. These two guys are just absolutely crucial. I think we know what you're going to get from Logan Webb. Robbie Ray had a bit of an up and down year last year. I think you really know what you're going to get from Landon Roop when he's out there. There's maybe more to go there for him, just given his age. But these two guys, if they can be it's similar to and I talked to Tyler about Kevin Gosman and DeSclafani and all those guys. The difference when those guys were good and popped on the scene, and for not a whole lot resource wise, versus when it didn't work, it's just season changing.
Yeah. I am curious to see if you asked Tyler Mahle one specific question that you and I have joked about. You did? Good.
Don't worry. We're settling old scores here.
Good. This is really, really crucially important to me because I feel snubbed, and I'm sure you do as well.
This is crucial to two people in the world, but a few others. But
All right. With that, let's kick it to interviews with two of the Giants' new pitching rotation members.
All right, Adrian Houser, welcome to San Francisco. I want to start with kind of your journey over the last year. It's a little crazy. I mean, you're in Arizona last spring, right? As a non-roster guy, you end up in AAA. You end up getting released and go to the White Sox and traded, and then a 2-year deal. What has this been like the last year to go from where you were on, February 15th, 2025 to 26?
It's been a whirlwind. I think it goes a little bit further back than that. I think it goes all the way to me sitting in AAA after being DFA'd by the Mets in 24 at the deadline. And, I was sitting there not, obviously not happy with it and, needed to really make some changes. And so those couple months really dove into some stuff and found a path that I thought maybe helping me out. And so, I started doing some 72-hour fasts. I got on the carnivore diet, reached out to a buddy of mine who works at a pitching place in Oklahoma City and got in contact with them. And, they helped me with a ton of mechanical changes and some overall strength things. And so we just kind of pieced that together with like a puzzle over the off season, and then just hit the ground running come spring training. Was feeling really good. Just trying to stay on top of all my stuff and try to stay healthy, and everything else after that would just take care of itself.
They say the first 72-hour fast is really tough. I mean, you're a bigger guy. What was the first one like?
So it actually wasn't terrible. The first day, towards the end of the day was probably the worst, just because blood sugar dropped and got like a big headache and stuff like that. But after that, just chugging a bunch of water anytime I felt like I was getting hungry. And before I knew it, I was at 72 hours and could eat again and felt great afterwards.
Are you still doing that?
Yeah, so so far I'm sticking to like 2 per off season.
Okay.
I'll do 1 like right before I start working out again to start the off season, and then another one like second week of January around there just to clear up from all the holiday eating.
There's been so many different spots you've been at, and there's so many different ways that guys teach pitchers now. What have you picked up along the way? And you've been in some places, including Tampa last year, where they're kind of known for Milwaukee. They're known for being really good at this stuff.
Yeah, it's like with Milwaukee, they really knew how to develop guys, knew how to communicate with them really well, knew what worked best for them, or tinkered with some things that like kind of got them going a little bit better with something. And then, with my time with the Tampa Bay last year, everybody's philosophy different, and the attack the zone was one of their main things, and also put away 2 strikes, stuff like that, and kind of tinkered with my slider grip a little bit with them. I think it helped it out. I got some velo on it, and so yeah, definitely just taking bits and pieces that's kind of helped me piece together to where I am at now.
I know we've only been here a week, but is there anything that this new staff has seen, or I just heard about some of the younger guys and they're like, you're a cutter guy now, or this, is there anything they've seen that they've given you?
Not so far. I think we're kind of all just like filling each other out so far, and I got a live BP tomorrow, so I think we'll be able to kind of dive into it more. There's always something you get better at, always something you can tinker with to try to refine your stuff. So I think it's more so just kind of getting things going, and then go from there. If there's something we can kind of tinker with and kind of mess with, and we'll hammer that down.
Did you cross paths with Christian Wonders in Tampa at all, or was
I don't think I did. Yeah, I don't think I did. I think he was either on the minor league side, or I just never crossed paths with him. It was pretty hectic with them not being in their own stadium and stuff like that. So, everybody was just trying to figure out their own path to get down there. But I don't think I ever crossed paths with him.
What was that like for you pitching in that stadium? I mean, we've heard about it. We've seen some of the highlights, but just having so much big league experience and going there.
It was definitely a different treat. You felt like you were in spring training, even because I got to play there as a visitor with the White Sox, and that's what it just felt like you were there for spring training. But definitely in the heat and the humidity, obviously that's how Florida is. But when you're playing in it right at sunset and everything, it was definitely a challenge. But everybody was happy to do it, and so everybody made the most of it, and it was a good group down there.
It's an interesting staff here, not just with Tony, but he brings his pitching coach from Tennessee, and then he gets Justin from the minors and Christian. What's been your early impression on that trio, and maybe the way that they've handled the pitchers?
I think it's a good way to go about it. You throw Chavi in there too. You got some guys that are baseball oriented, like they've been in those shoes. They know what kind of goes with pitching, and then you got some guys that are they're helping out, thinking analytically, thinking biomechanically, and so you start meshing that stuff together, and then you can start piecing things together a lot better. So I feel like the way they're trying to attack it, I feel like it's going to be a really good advantage for us this year. Just you got 3-4 different minds, all working towards the same goal, working from different perspectives with different ideas on different things, and I think at the end of the day, I think it's going to help out the whole pitching staff as a whole.
With Jesse, your bullpen coach, I mean, he was literally pitching in the big leagues last year.
I spring training with him last year.
Yeah, there you go.
Spring training with him last year.
How surprised were you when you found out that he was? I mean, people who have covered him know this is what he was going to do at some point. Yeah. But you're like, I saw you 8 months ago. Across the valley.
When I saw when they put out the coaching staff list, and I saw that he was the bullpen coach, I was kind of fired up, because he's a great dude, great human being. He's been there, he's done that. And I think he'll be a huge asset for our bullpen guys, especially some of the younger guys that are trying to figure out their way, figure out their routines. The guy's done everything for 14, 15 years, whatever it was. So I mean, he's going to be somebody that all of us can lean on and really go talk to if we're in struggle or whatever, this or that. Just pick his brain a lot. So I think it'll be a huge asset having him here.
Are you concerned the Braves are going to call him for the 5th straight year? And
hey, there's always that possibility. As crazy it is, there's always that possibility.
You mentioned some of the stops you've been at. How many of these guys have you run across in different places, or did you know before you got here? In terms of your teammates?
Yeah, a few here. So at Fulmer, I know Fulmer from back home. We grew up around the same area. Willie, obviously from Milwaukee. Spencer Bivens, I know him a little bit. He was in Oklahoma for a little bit, trained with us for a few weeks. I know I'm missing somebody. Caleb Killian. He was with the Cubs for a little bit when I was AAA with them. So there's a few guys here that mix and match with every now and then. But obviously played against a ton of these guys like throughout my career. So you've always had that.
You have some experience in AAA last year. Did you experience ABS at all? And
Yeah.
What did you think of it, and how do you plan to? What's your method going to be as we experience this at the big league level?
Don't challenge a pitch.
Okay.
I'm not going to challenge a pitch. I learned real quickly that it was like, that looked like it was there, and I was off by 6 inches. So it's like, I'll just leave it up to the catcher or the hitter to challenge from now on. But I think it's not terrible. You're still, there's a challenge, but they have to be right, or they're going to be wrong, or so they still have to pick and choose what they're going to challenge. And guys, stuff moves so crazy now that it may be close, maybe not. But I think for us, I think it's still going to be the same game. It might actually help out pitchers with the fact of it's going to force them to be on the plate and attack the zone more.
When it's someone like Patrick, who has the reputation he does, do you especially just kind of go like, it's your deal?
Yeah, I'm just going to let him take it. He'll handle it. He'll know if it's a ball or a strike. So we'll let him handle all that.
What's been your early impression of throwing to him? Obviously, back-to-back Gold Gloves.
He's just smooth back there. He makes it. I don't want to mean it in a bad way. It's almost like nonchalant to him. He's just back there and he just makes everything smooth. He makes the stick right there where he wants it to. So it's going to be a lot of fun working with him and throwing to him this year.
My last thing for you, the obvious question for everybody this spring is we have multiple national reporters here again. We had 3 on the first day. Everyone's here to write about Tony. What's been your first week with him? What has stood out to you about the way he's handled you guys? I know you've gone through a pitchers meeting and now a full squad meeting with him as well.
Energy. He's always bringing the energy. He's ready to go. He wants us ready to go. And so I think, him having that energy, I think a lot of us will be able to feed off of it. Obviously, we know it's a long season and all that, but I think it's good that he's coming in with that much energy and ready to go. And I think he's on top of everything and also doing his due diligence with everybody. I think he's going about it the right way. He's letting some of the guys that have been in the big leagues or like coach, as far as coaching staff, letting them kind of do their things. And if he's got something to say, he'll speak up. But I think he's kind of, taking a step back, letting everybody kind of doing their thing and just reading from afar. And then once we hit the ground running for the season, I think he's going to be right where he wants to be and ready to rock and roll. And like I said, he brings the energy, and it's going to be a blast this year.
Are you still carnivore diet or just?
I call it carnivore-ish because it's too hard to stay full carnivore during the season. So every now and then I'll have some carbs and stuff, but for the most part, yeah.
All right, we'll think of the best meat places in San Francisco for you. Adrian, welcome to San Francisco.
Thank you.
Tyler, you end up with the Giants after free agency. I want to kind of go through the whole winter for you. What was the process of sorting through some of your opportunities and deciding that the Giants were the right fit?
Obviously California team, close to home was great. But then I knew it was a great organization. I've heard from other guys, and just, being around baseball, it's a good spot to be that guys want to be at. And then I didn't want to wait, obviously I wasn't at the top of the list of, starting pitchers to sign. So I was going to have to wait for some of those other guys to fall off the board, but I didn't really want to do that. They expressed interest. We did the same. And we, got a deal done. So.
I know it's a different group here, but this is a place where a few guys, Kevin Gosman, one of them, have come here, done really well in the ballpark, done well with the pitching infrastructure. Was that in your head at all? Or?
For sure. Yeah. And I knew, Anthony DeStefani, he came here and said great things and did well here. So that's another guy, kind of did it at the same time as Gosman. So yeah, there's plenty of guys that, to look at. That was obviously one of the reasons too.
A bit of a unique thing for you as you pursue the Giants or talk to the Giants, you actually faced the president of baseball operations. Only 2 at-bats, 1 for 2. I think he had a single off you in 2018. Is that any different than your conversations elsewhere, just going up against Buster?
I didn't personally talk to anybody. It was my agent. Yeah, I've been meaning to look that up. I couldn't remember if I faced him or not. I thought I did.
Yeah.
I thought I did, but I couldn't remember, so I was going to ask him. But we've been running around, so yeah, it's kind of funny.
It was a long time ago. So
Yeah.
we've heard from Zach and Buster that Bruce Bochy really kind of was in your corner as they're discussing what to do here. Your experience on the other side of that, I mean, Giants fans he's a legend with them, obviously, he's back. On the other side of that, what was it like playing for him last year?
It was great. I mean, you know, he's obviously a legend of the game, not just, you know, in San Francisco, legend of baseball. So, you know, playing for a guy like that, you know, it makes you, you know, it gives you a little bit more confidence and, you know, probably, I think makes you a little bit better. No, I mean, it's surreal to say that I played for a guy like that. And then for him to, you know, say kind words about me or whatever, that's pretty surreal to me too. I'm super grateful that I got to, you know, be around him.
I know guys always try to learn from veterans that they're around. You're around DeGrom for a bit. Now spending some time around Logan, who this is year 13 in professional baseball for him. He's going to have his 5th straight opening day start here. Has anything surprised you about him being here this first week or two and getting to know him from this side?
Not really. I don't know what could really surprise me. I mean, those guys are all the same. You know, they like we all can go out there and, you know, have great days where our stuff's just clicking. We can get anybody out, but those guys, you see, they do it every day. You know, every day is the same. And then same like when the season starts, you know, they're doing it every 5th day, and they stay healthy, and they just know. They just I don't know how to describe it, but it's just, you know, they're consistent. So that's what everyone strives to be. That's what I know I'm trying to do, is stay consistent and stay healthy. And you know, that's what those guys that are, you know, at the top of the, you know, totem pole, that's what they do, is they stay healthy and they stay consistent.
You mentioned free agency. I mean, a big part of it, I'm sure, for you from other teams was the health and just making sure you're out there for a full season. But when you were out there last year in Texas, numbers were really impressive.
Yeah.
When you look at last season, what you were able to do when you were on the mound, what does that tell you about maybe what's left in the tank here and how much is ahead of you if you're able to more consistently do that and tap into what you saw in Texas?
Yeah, I mean, I know I've always known like the ability is there. I just had some, you know, bad luck with injuries. Because it's not like I'm just sitting in the clubhouse like, you know,
Yeah.
going out every 5th day, just like hoping, you know, my arm stays intact. You know, like I'm doing the work and everything, and I've just had some bad luck and maybe bad mechanics. It could be like, that's one thing I've, you know, leaned into. Just a couple things that I need to tweak, and hopefully, you know, we're on the other side of it, because I honestly have not felt this good since, you know, earlier in my career. So hopefully we've figured some things out. Me and where I work out at in the off season is Chapman Baseball Compound. They work really hard over there, and they've, you know, found a couple things that maybe I can change, and just little things. And sure enough, I'm feeling really good. So hopefully I'm on the other side of that.
I know a small sample here, but you're with 3 new pitching coaches. Is there anything that they have? I mean, just talking to some of the younger guys already, they're like, you know, new cutter grip, new this. Christian especially is really good at kind of giving guys new grips. Is there anything they've changed with you this spring so far?
No, it's so early. Just kind of, I mean, I've thrown 1 bullpen. So not yet. It's just, I think we're all trying to get to know each other right now.
You've been pretty split heavy the last few years, and that's a pitch that a lot of guys are having a lot of success with in Major League Baseball. What's been the evolution of that pitch for you? I mean, I mentioned Gosman. We saw him here, and that was really a pitch that helped him take the next step.
Yeah. I was just never able to throw a changeup. Got sent down at the end of, I don't know what year it was, 18, I was hurt, and like pitching through it and got sent down, and didn't want to say anything because I was young, but that's besides the point. Got sent down and started working on a split with Jeff Facero. He was the AAA pitching coach then, and yeah, and I was able to get the ball to move the other way, like similar to a changeup. It was a splitter. It wasn't very good at the time, but then just kept working on it, and yeah, it turned into my splitter, which was good to lefties, but could never really throw it to righties. And then Chapman, the place I work out at and throw at, kind of made me take the next step with it, and was able to get it to a point where I could now throw it to righties. So I could throw it to both sides now, and it's just become a really good pitch for me.
Are there guys you watch who you go like, that's kind of we've seen guys around the league who will throw it 2-3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Gosman being one of them when he was here.
Yeah. I mean, I could do that. I probably have, but what I've figured out is that pitch isn't very effective unless I'm locating my fastball where I need to locate it, and just mixing pitches, because it's not super hard. The movement is pretty good, but it's not like I don't know. It's not like I'm just gonna lean on that and just throw that. Like I lean on all my pitches and make sure that if I'm going good, like I'm throwing all my pitches. So.
How do you personally plan to handle ABS? Maybe you gonna leave that to your Gold Glove catcher, or are you gonna be at times trying to
we'll
get a call?
See. I think once I get comfortable with it, I'll probably try to use it. But I guess I did it last. Did they have it last spring?
Yeah,
I think
a little
they
bit.
might have.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I ever made challenged a pitch. But we'll see. Once we all get comfortable with it, we'll see what happens.
That's one of two big storylines here, I think, for everybody in every camp. The big storyline here is Tony and his first year in this staff. What have your experiences been like? I know he's made a real effort just to reach out to guys, and just going back to when you signed, what's that experience been like with him?
He just sent me a text. Just happy we got that done. Welcome. So that was pretty much it. And then I've been around him a lot just because he's over in the PFP area every day working with us. So got to know him a little bit there, and just we're all getting to know each other, having fun, and it's a fun group to be around.
It seems like he's in a mix during PFPs, actually.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, he's up there literally working with us. So it's great.
I didn't realize this until doing some research for this, but your brother pitched in the big leagues.
Yeah.
A left-handed pitcher. You grew up right-handed. What kind of impact did he have on you, and what was that like, having the one lefty and the one righty kind of coming up together?
It was great, obviously. I mean, we got to, especially once, we worked together in high school, we were at the same high school, and but once we got into pro ball, we've spent the off seasons together, you automatic, throwing partner and lifting partner and everything. And we did everything together. And he is probably one of the hardest workers I know. Just relentless in his, in doing everything, whether it comes to arm care, or, anything. It's like he's going to do it right, and he's going to do it, to the best of his ability. And that rubbed off on me, because I've, when I was younger, kind of relied on just, ability. I was a skinny kid, didn't work out, so being able to work with him early in our careers was really good for me, I think. And he made me accountable for for all my stuff that I needed to do. And so yeah, it was great. It was how many people get to work with their brother like that, and there's not many. So yeah, it was one of the best times of our lives, I think.
My last thing for you, I do have a beef with you because I'm a UCSB guy. My podcast co-host is a UCSB guy.
Nice.
And you were going to be a UCSB guy and then went pro. What? Why not? Why you don't want to be a gaucho?
I
You
did
want to be a gaucho, but
what happened actually was, so you do all the meetings with the teams before, like before the draft, and I thought the Brewers were gonna, they're like gonna draft me or whatever in a certain slot that I wanted to be in, and they took me in that slot where they said they were, but they wanted to give me less money, and I kind of took that as like kind of disrespectful, like, why aren't you giving me full slot? So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to UCSB. And my brother was right there.
Yeah.
We were sitting at home, and I was, okay, well, I'm going to UCSB. And so we were like literally about to walk out the door to go work out and go throw and stuff. And then my agent called and was like, hey, the Reds want to take you in the 7th round for over the slot. And I was like, oh, that's sick, And I hadn't talked to the Reds at all, not one word. My agent hadn't either. So I took it. I think my dad always brings this up, but like when we were at UC Santa Barbara watching them and my brother play, I was watching it, and it was kind of like reminding me of high school a little bit. Just like, I don't know how to explain it, but he says like guys were making errors and stuff or whatever.
It was not a good team when I was there. So.
And I told him, I want to play pro ball. Like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like, I want to go and, focus on myself. And, so he says that I said that. I don't know if I did or not. But what's funny is you get into pro ball, and there's a lot of young guys, like that have all the talent in the world, but haven't really perfected their craft. So it's kind of like, AZL, like it's kind of, not a show, but it's, there's like, a lot of errors get made, a lot of, like the pitchers haven't perfected their craft. They got crazy stuff, but they're, zipping balls everywhere. So it's actually probably a little bit crazier than college baseball. But that's what he said. That's how it happened, I guess.
Well, I hope you got to spend some weekends up there with your brother at least. So, all right, you had a good time. It worked out very well for you.
Yeah, I'd say.
It all worked out. Tyler, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, all right.